All right, so that leads us beautifully into our final topic. We're almost done. I'm Jack. Become a poll worker, please, 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 if I can convince any of you. And this is for if you're already registered, if you're yet to register, just please, please, please become a poll worker. It will really help, regardless of affiliation, regardless of anything. This is purely beneficial. So what's the problem? These statistics, you can see I have the dates for them, so they may be a little changed today. Not the left one, but the right one. A majority of US poll workers are over 60. You can see the demographics here. Only 4% of poll workers are in the 18 to 25 range. And as you can see, the same amount of poll workers are 17 and younger, and they can't even vote. So we need to be doing more. And so how this relates, especially now, is that Americans, especially older Americans, are going to be a lot less comfortable being poll workers, especially the 60 and above age group who are more at risk for COVID-19. As you can see here, this is 66% of all Americans as of March were uncomfortable going out to a polling place to vote. So as you can imagine, those numbers are only going to be larger for an older age group. So what is this here? These are all the states that have a need for poll workers. The ones that have a need are in blue. The ones that have said they don't have a need are in gray. As you can see, unless you live in Oregon or Washington, and even if you do sign up, just check just to make sure. Please, please, please become a poll worker. There is rampant need. Actually, Hawaii also. I didn't notice Hawaii before. But if you live outside of those three states, even if you live inside of those three states, please, please, please sign up. So I'm going to try not to repeat too much of the information because my group members have done an amazing job describing a lot of this, but voter suppression is real. It happens at the polls as much as it happens before you even get to the polls. That has to do with wait times. That has to do with other things that Aditi mentioned, like language barriers, ID barriers. So if we can have especially educated people who are aware of the information at the polls, they can help people. And like I said, this is the only slightly political statement or biased statement that I will make. If you are someone who would like to remove Donald Trump from office, things like this should be a huge concern. And you should really want to help people vote as much as possible. So what can you do? I've got a link here and a QR code. Use either. You can go to this website, you can find your state, and you can sign up to become a poll worker. Different states have different requirements. I didn't want to get into that because there's so many states and I couldn't cover them all. I'm from New York City. I'm signed up to be a poll worker. And actually that also goes into considering signing up for a specialty position. So I am multilingual. I have signed up to become a translator. I'm going to go in for a training. And then I'm going to, on election day and on early voting days as well, those are important as well. I will hopefully be stationed at a poll, don't know where yet, in New York City, and we'll be doing translating for people who need it and just generally helping. So all of these are really important. If you can sign up, that would be fantastic. So this is a quick, I believe it's less than a minute of a video of what that entails. What does a poll worker do?
Ready to help America vote? Working the polls on election day is a great way to strengthen our democracy right in your own community. Poll workers set up polling places, check in voters, and answer questions, and show us how to use voting machines. It's important. Any voter can file an application to become a poll worker, and most poll workers get paid. September 1st is National Poll Worker Recruitment Day because right now America needs more election workers to volunteer. Learn more at helpamericavote.gov.
Yeah, so as you can see, that's just a quick rundown of even more of what you do as a poll worker. So if you're at the most basic level, which is we need tons of people to do, you just help people with their ballots. You let people know where to go. All these things, especially for new voters and especially for voters who may not speak English as well, all these different things can be really confusing, and the system is designed to be confusing, but we have to fight against that and vote as much as possible. So what's in it for you? If you don't, firstly, you can help your community. So if you're not necessarily concerned about the general election, specific to your community, the area in which you live, the area in which you maybe grew up, if you work at the poll in that community, you can firstly, like I said, help ensure that Donald Trump doesn't win re-election. But if that's not something you're interested in, you will just be helping your community vote and benefiting them. Also, money can often be involved. There are some slight opportunities for volunteer, but for the most part, you will be paid. These aren't all of the locations, obviously, but these are some of the most populous locations. And this is from the 2016 election data on how much certain poll workers were paid. And it is important to mention that as a specialty worker, say a translator, you will probably receive more compensation for your time. For the most part, the compensation is very fair. It's not the highest. A lot of states go based on their minimum wage, but especially in 2020, I urge you to look it up for your state. This data may not be exactly accurate. I believe for New York City, where I am volunteering, it's upwards of $20 an hour, including payment for training. So the hours that I go in to just be trained, I will also be compensated for my time. And so if nothing motivates you except for personal compensation, there is money in it for you as well. So that is our session. Thank you for coming. We have Youth 2020 Vision has more teach-in sessions. On Monday, our next session is about Battle of the Ballot. There will be a different group of presenters, but we hope you can attend that as well, because they will be covering some really important topics, such as requesting a ballot, absentee versus mail-in voting, local candidates, and local propositions. I just wanted to stop sharing so we could all see everybody again. If anyone has any questions, I think we all would be happy to answer.
I have a comment, and just sort of some stuff is just make sure you have plenty of time. Make sure you check into the regulations in your state now, because it is complicated. And another reason we need young people to be poll workers is not just because of COVID, which is a huge issue when the majority of poll workers have been over 60, but also a lot of states are switching over to on-screen voting, and a lot of the older poll workers are challenged by some of the new technology. So I know in my own city, a lot of it took an hour with no line to vote just because there was so much confusion over the new technology. So that's where we need the young minds that really know how to use a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
And even if you're scared of technology or don't know it, regardless of your age, you will be trained. So especially young people, you know, we pick up things quickly. So even if you're scared of technology, you will be trained in it when you become a poll worker.
One other thing I'll say is also pay attention to, if you're doing mail-in ballot, how it goes, because as several of you guys talked about voter suppression, I know, like I think it's the state of Pennsylvania, you not only have to put your ballot in the envelope to mail it, you have to put your ballot into a privacy envelope before you put it in the envelope to mail it. So if you don't put it in two envelopes, if you just have what they call a naked ballot in the envelope, it can be disqualified, and there's no exception. Which, if you think about it, if we go back to the election between George W. Bush and Al Gore, it was literally hundreds of votes that decided that election in Florida. Hundreds of votes, not thousands. So it's something that we need to make sure that every vote that can count, that anybody that wants to vote has the ability to vote, the choice to vote, and the information they need to be educated to make a vote get counted this election, especially this election.
Has each state posted COVID safety guidelines at voting stations, and what safety guidelines they'll be taking?
Yeah, so a lot of that information you should be able to find on, if you just even go to your state's like homepage for voting, oftentimes it'll be like front and center because they know that that's on a lot of people's minds. I can't guarantee it for every state. I haven't seen the website for every single state, but a lot of them should have the guidelines. I would say for the most part, the guidelines are, you're going in person to vote, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, and then other than that, it's up to your personal preference for safety.
And Yeah, and then they also we have links on our website to different places to make it easy to vote or find the information in your own state. So you can go there to the youthvision.weebly.com site. But also just be aware that if you bring in your mail-in ballot to drop it off at a polling place, some places allow that and some don't. You have to drop it off at a specific drop box or drop it off at your county register. You can always check with your county register ahead of time. So if you bring in a filled out ballot, which isn't a bad idea, and think you can just drop it at the polling place, you may not be able to. What they'll do is they'll cancel your mail-in ballot, and then they'll ask you to vote in person, and you'll have to go through that process. So just be aware, there's a lot of little caveats in sort of how you can submit your ballot and everything else. So just take your time to read over. But yeah, most county registers, most state commissions on voting will have the information about COVID.
Thank you.